can't do what he does. I have a listening ear for talent. He has the legal mind to basically take you to where you are meant to go. It's simply asking. Just ask. Balishly, how can you help us? Some of us are kind enough to say we will do it. Others will see it and invest in it because we're basically your mouthpiece when it concerns that. Gifts, collaboration, competition is everywhere. I just spoke about it just now in terms of, there is this mezzo soprano who is basically better than this vibrato soprano. But when you mix the both of them together, and I'm talking about clean mixes, if you have the ear for it, you will be able to put all of them together. You see, the humility and the competition amongst them is human nature. Some of us as administrators sometimes will not be able to deal with that. We will take you to the higher authorities so they can handle that. Reason why we have confessions in some places, why you have mentors whom you go to when there is a human issue in our lives. Sometimes we can't do all of that because, those who mentor you in terms of the spiritual gifts that you have will come and say, shooting corny dada, they keep asking those questions because they need to find out what your progress is. Now, I would ask you, if you have the gift, when you go to the studio, compromise. Because he needs to deal with the psychology of that. He will come with a report. Do I have to be there to basically make sure that works? That is the quiet amongst the storm that we need to deal with. You see, that human competition that we have is human nature. Are you humble enough to get rid of it so that less becomes more of you? So that is a poser for you.
Okay, so I want to add to that. I don't know if you've noticed that amongst creative people, we have war. Yeah. Why? It does not happen amongst people that are not good. It happens among creative people, people that are very good. Maybe you have one soprano singer that is very good. Another auto singer, this song, I'll be the one that will be choosing to take the lead. I'll be the one. So, like a friend of mine says, he said, "Devil is our senior colleague." Do you know that? Okay, so how did Devil? You know that Devil had all these attributes in him. He could do anything at the same time. How did he manage to rebel against God in heaven? Have you ever considered that? So that friend of mine will say, how did sin find way from anywhere? How did he get to God's presence that is holy, and was able to enter into the devil? And how the devil was able? How was he able to convince? What percentage of the? 1/3. How was he able to talk to them and to convince them to rebel against God? So this thing is an innate nature in all creative people. So I think we need to watch it and deal with it intentionally. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any more questions? Okay. There's one. Oh, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think for me, I'll be coming from...
Your name, please.
Okay, sorry. My name is Naiji Fumilayo. I'll be coming from the perspective of the music tech space. I would like to throw this question open to the panelists. How do you see the future of music technology evolving, and what potential disruptions or innovations should musicians, industry professionals be prepared for? That's one. Then the second one will probably be to the lawyer. It will be what legal considerations or what should one consider from a legal perspective for someone who is trying to get into the music tech industry. Thank you very much.
Okay. So first and foremost, we have talked about it. Your singing must be organic enough for us to consume. If the material is not rich enough, there is no way the technical person can handle it. He will continue to embellish and embellish and embellish. The question is, if we're not in your contingent that goes somewhere else to sing, based on what everybody else has seen on social media or the products you have put out there. Can you handle it? The pressure now comes to him because he will still go, oh, this is what the person is worth, and the organizers or promoters are probably saying, you're not worth that much, so you need to make returns to us. How damaging can that be for us who had basically raised you as an offspring? So you need to grow yourself. You need to be ready for the unexpected. If the material inside of you is worth it, we will hear it. He will see it. Well, he will hear it. He will see it. And of course, the promoters basically will carry it and convince the entire world. That is how we've been able to build leaders in the space. That is the reason why we are gathered here today. And they've done it consistently for 7 years. What was it that they didn't analyze in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth that we're analyzing now? Those are the things we're looking at. Some of the issues will also come later because it now becomes, do we prefer fair complexion people, male, female, to be singing? Because once light falls on them, they look absolutely glamorous. Or do we take dark complexion people who can't be singing, who are basically darker but sing better? And the light complexion people, you're more marketable because of look, the issues will come. Then we'll begin to call fashionistas by next year, Lagbar alone. So it is a lot. Be organic enough for us to see and hear you. Be willing to take the criticism that comes with it. You go cry in your bedroom, but you come out stronger. Because if you want to be a lion, you were once a cub. And you know what? You faced tigers, you faced a lot of wild animals like you who don't want to share the same space with you. Understand that, please understand that. There are people at the echelon of these things who know what you're worth. They will pay to make sure you don't see the light. So, do you understand me? That is how it works.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, Akemi, there's a question for him as regards
Sorry. It's just for the sake of clarity, because a lot of times you get emotional when you hear words like this. But just for the sake of clarity, when you say organic, let me get the word right. When you say organic, it simply means discipline, it simply means foresight, empathy in every word you put into your music. Is that what it is?
Yes, basically, you must be able to take criticism because it will come even from the closest of your allies. They are the ones who make it worse. They have seen what you're going to become. Now, they don't know what your mind is. Are you going to share the reward of your success? Because from us, who are small, the big people will see you. They will move your mind. There's a shift from being on the Lagos stage to being on the Australian stage to being flying first class. All these things will be put in your head. Question is, are you humble enough to carry it? Because it will get to a point you will say, I can't do this anymore. It is that time you say you can't do this anymore that the person who has invested $10 billion will tell you, you're not going anywhere. That is when you now start coming to us to say what? We should go and beg him. I'm sorry, it's too late. Your mandate is bigger now. Take it to God in prayer. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Ben. Uncle Ben. I think the legal considerations would stem from whatever solution you are providing as a music tech company. So, if you, for example, if you are trying to raise money for music ministers or for recording artists, if you're trying to raise money, there are some music tech platforms like that where you can tokenize your music catalog. Like, okay, I want to release a new body of work of 6 songs. Please, members of my church, I want to raise 6 million naira. If you help me with also amount of money, this is your share from the music royalties that can be generated. So the legal consideration is, how do we deal with the issue of copyright? How do we share ownership? If 100 people can contribute maybe 6,000 naira, or if 1,000 people can contribute 6,000 naira, they will own a small token. So I think whatever problems you are solving, that would be some of it. That would be the foundation for whatever consideration you would have. I've given an example of how you can tokenize copyright and how you can raise funding. Sometimes if you want to also raise funding in public, you might need to follow the securitization law of your territory. It's just like you are raising bonds as a company going to the public to raise, to sell stocks of your company. You might need to have to, sit down with a lawyer that is very, very knowledgeable in that area and see what things you need to do according to law to be able to do what you're doing properly. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, one question from here. I think we'll be wrapping up soon. We still have another session.
Thank you very much. My name is Lloyd. My question is for the law. The CCC, we have a hymn book, right? And over 960-something hymns are there. Now, I'm aware that in music development nowadays, you could take a few lines from a hymn and use it. How can the church begin to... my background is finance. These are intangible assets, and in finance, you can value intangible assets and actually sell them and monetize them. How can the church begin to look into that aspect and begin to develop these assets properly for the church's benefit, on the one hand? Secondly is, for a choir, for example, imagine you've done an album contributed by different people, and then only 5-6 years down the line before the exposure or the commercialization begins to work out. How do you now begin to ensure that the people who contributed to that particular album after X number of years benefit from it? Do you consider that in the agreements that you draw up ab initio? Or how would you advise that those kind of things are addressed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. This second question I think I've answered before. I said every church would have to have their own way of protecting the works. Sir, every church would have to come to terms on how the intellectual property assets that are going to be created, because somebody has to own it. If the church is funding it, if the church is paying producers like the doctor here to produce, to get the best hands to mix and master, then if the church is the one funding it, then it makes sense for the church to own it as an asset. Also, with respect to the first question, which is some of the church's hymns, almost 900 of them. So we intellectual property, there's a time factor. Sometimes, because our civilization is built on people's ideas of what our our ancestors did. They did certain things 200 years ago that made it possible for some of us to enjoy certain things that they've done. The civilization is always built on cultural, scientific contributions of certain people. And everything we are doing now too is also going to benefit the people that come after us, maybe 100, 200 years later. So with music, it's a culture product that after some number of years, nobody would own it again. I hope we understand that. So because there's no idea that is entirely new. If we wrote those hymns like maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago, like now, they are now what we call in the public domain. So anybody can actually borrow those hymns and use it. And you might not be able to enforce your rights. But there's something that a lot of people do. They go into what they own and they make it fresh by creating a new form of what they have. So if my work is supposed to go to public domain maybe in 10 years' time, I can just try and remix my grandfather's body of work, just to keep it fresh again, just to extend the life of the sound recording. I keep it fresh, and with the new one, then you get some benefit again, because the new work is now a standalone work on its own, and you can then exploit it commercially again. Do you understand? With the lyrics. So the way the lyrics are probably going to be, if it's in public domain, then anybody can kind of use it or draw inspiration from that, and you might not be able to pursue, except if you can say for certain that you are still within your rights or within the time where you are the only person that can benefit from the composition. Maybe the original writers just recently died. After an original composer of a song dies, they have 70 years. After 70 years, anybody can, kind of like pick those compositions and use for their own benefit.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one question from one of our online viewers. Oluwatosin Does is asking, what's the place of a gospel artist in influencing secular society? I think Dr. Egde should take that.
So, the question again, please.
Yeah, she says, what's the place of a gospel artist in influencing the secular society?
Okay, I think gospel artists now can do more. I don't want to give you examples, but we have gospel artists that now their songs are everywhere, even internationally. So what that does is it gives some other international artists that are not gospel to actually see into that genre of music and how to tap into it. Yes. So on the other scene, I can't say much, but in gospel, I've seen. I don't know if you know Lacrae. Yeah. Do we know Lacrae? Do we know our own? What's this guy? No, not Sinach. Sinach is that sang Jaira. Lemo Blaze. Do we know them? Okay. So now we have some new sound coming from Nigeria. Yeah. Alternative music, some other sounds that the Americans they love and they want to, dive into. Not even gospel. Not even gospel. So I think if you do your work very well, make it professional, push your stuff out. Why not? Anybody can see it and create another stuff for them.
Okay. Temitope is asking a question that has been answered before. I think it's still to Akinyemilo. She's saying, as an original writer of songs for my choir, how can I get the copyright of the songs in my name?
I think the question has been answered. Every church will have to come up with their own. Way.
Okay. I think it is safe to round off this. It is safe to round off this session.
Thank you.
We sincerely appreciate our panelists. Akinyemilo, you've been great. Okay, I wanted to ask one question before we go. It's still to you. Like, which platform, which social media platform, because a lot of us might not, distribution now. Which is the easiest of the platforms to make quick returns? Like, probably that I can do within I have a song, and within 1 or 2 months, and I can quickly get into and then get something, even if it's just $1. Which is the quickest, easiest social media or online platform I can tap into as a music?
So I'm sorry, I might not be able to answer that because I'm not an expert in, distribution.
Okay.
I've never distributed a song before. But what I know for certain is that you should go to where your fan base enjoys your music the most. If you're a Nigerian artist or a Nigerian minister, you know that there are certain platforms that are very, very beneficial to Nigerian releases. Platforms like Boomplay, you can easily, quickly check out your money there. Even AudioMark, even YouTube, because a lot of Nigerians consume music on those platforms. But I can't really beat my chest and say, this is where you get your money back on time. Okay. But I think it makes sense, because if you are popular in a certain territory and those people usually have a consumer behavior of consuming in this manner, why not just start with them?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Before we go, let me add to that. There's a mistake some artists make, and that is you want to promote your song. You just go out there, put it on DistroKid, put it here, put it there, or you promote it on on Instagram and stuff. This is the way to go. Get a good DSP. Yeah? Then, okay, don't let me go there. Let me just give you this tip. You can have a song, and the people that are listening to your song, they are from Brazil. They are not here in Nigeria. Do you know that?
Yes.
It's so funny. I have some of my artists that we kept on pushing. But when we went to the back end, we now discovered that the song, the people that listen to the song, they are from Ghana, Brazil, and maybe Italy. So the best